My most successful athletes have one thing in common. That is, they have parents who seem to have their crap together. For the most part, they don't fall apart or have an emotional reaction or response when their kids or son or daughter lose a match maybe they shouldn't have a bad day, or maybe come close but don't actually seal the deal. They have a long-term approach. So if you or me as an adult has an emotional response every time there's a bump in the road, you should expect that, right? When you expect the road and the pathway to be a little bit steeper than you expected, and there to be some bumps in the road, that's fine, right? Kyle Dake said his mom taught him that everything that happens to him in athletics is good. Even getting pinned in the state finals would be good. And I think that you really have to start looking at wrestling that way. Not that it feels good, but that this is good. This is part of the plan. This is part of the process. This is part of the climb, right? You're going to slip and fall sometimes. And sometimes you can do everything you're supposed to and still lose. Because why? Because the other person did everything they were supposed to also. You can't tell me that Kyle Snyder deserved not to win the world title the past 2 years. He won the Olympics and, what, 2 other world titles? He probably knows what he's doing, right? You can't tell me that Jordan Burroughs deserved to go 0-2 at the Olympics. I'm sure even Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, screws up sometimes and probably loses millions of dollars trying things. It's part of it. So I think that the parents who understand this probably live their life that way, and they'll probably parent their kids that way through their journeys through trying to be successful at something, which in this case would be wrestling. Those of you who maybe have an emotional response when things don't go right for you, you're probably doing that with your kids as well. And I operated my life on that path for many, many years, an emotional reaction to everything, right? So I'm speaking from experience. That was how I was raised, right? Our whole family, very volatile, in a good way though, I thought. Awesome upbringing. I mean, it was we were ready to fight at any time, right? And everything was an emotional response, and I've learned over the years not to do that, and it's really helped me a lot. So I'm not criticizing those of you. Well, I am, but I mean, I'm just saying I've been there myself. So make sure you knock that crap off if that's you, okay? Another thing the parents of these successful athletes do is they see what they have. If I have a 12-year-old who in the face looks like he's 9 and he's got 20% body fat because he has baby fat, that kid might be a $10 million a year lineman on the NFL one day, right? In fact, I have had a few over the years who went on to become tremendous wrestlers, right? Trent Hilger is phenomenal. He starts for Wisconsin. He came to our camps many years. He was a clumsy-looking kid as an 8th grader, right? And now he's, I think he's wrestling in the Junior Worlds and so forth. He's right up there. I mean, he's competing with the tops in the world in his age group, and you know, he's gonna make a lot of noise this year in Division I wrestling. So I've seen so many kids. Brandon Prieston, 2-time NCAA runner-up. He used to come to our camps. He was such a hard worker, but he traveled to our camps with Jonathan Morrison, who won everything, literally won everything since he was like 7. He was 4th in the NCAAs. If you had told me that Brandon was going to do better in college wrestling, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years later than Jonathan, I would have said you're crazy. But he did, right? And his maturity was a little bit differently. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's a little bit of both, right? Sometimes, and for those of us and you out there, if you have a little athlete and this doesn't really pertain to high school because the playing field is already leveled out because of the wonder drug that's called testosterone. They smuggle it across the border and they sell it illegally, and people inject it. Why? Because it's a wonder drug. And when testosterone kicks in, shit starts to hit the fan, right? And everything levels out. So the dynamo kid that runs the football 3,000 yards and crushes 60 home runs, he's probably going to win Pee Wee Nationals a bunch of times. Now, if that kid's training with very good coaches and year-round and has unbelievable technical skills, well, then you can't say that's the only reason that kid's winning. But he'd probably win even if he didn't have all that, right? But you might be doing everything right, but you're like, I don't have that kid right now. My kid doesn't have a 12-pack. He's not a ferocious animal. He doesn't have the attention span of a 34-year-old when he's 12, right? We got to wait a little bit. So if you have a dynamo kid, make sure he's getting the skills, because people are going to catch him. And you want to make sure when they catch him athletically, you want to make sure that he's still top 5% in America, because he's had, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of year-round drill time and skill time. And if your kid's not a dynamo, make sure they're getting that, because when the playing field does level, they can't be 4 years behind technically and skill-wise, right? I always tell my best kids, my more mature kids, you're going to get caught a little bit, okay? So there you go. Just understand, kids are going to catch you a little bit. Don't panic, right? Because my brother and I were probably pretty gifted athletically. Kids caught us. And it was like, dude, this freaking kind of sucks. I used to not even have to warm up, right? And now you get into college wrestling, or you get to the high school national level, and you're like, holy cow, these kids, right? I'm having more close matches than I used to. And you have to be okay with that. So look at your kid and say, what did God give me to work with here? And I need to have this conversation with my kids so that they don't get discouraged, and so that they understand that, hey, you know what? You're a very gifted kid. Don't waste your talent. And as kids mature, they're going to catch you a little bit. Don't worry about it. We're gonna work to stay on top, right? Third, I'm just kind of going off of memory here. The ability to stick it out, right? There's something called program hopping, right? And sometimes you should hop, right? If the program sucks, if I'm paying you to help my kid get strong or to be a math tutor, my kid still flunks math, I'm hopping, right? But at Oklahoma State, they said there's been Olympians, national champs, All-Americans, you name it, from this program, and we've done it year after year after year. We have Olympic champs and world champs and All-Americans and NCAA qualifiers. I mean, we're just about among the best in the whole planet Earth. You train here, this is all you need. Now, there's a few other places like this, and you're here. You don't need to say, I should go to Iowa or Penn State or Ohio State. And the Ohio State kid doesn't need to go to Oklahoma State. They said this, if you don't accomplish your goals here, look in the mirror. It's your fault. Blame that person. And I was like, that's beautiful. And then, that was when I was there 25 years ago. And they said it again. My son was on a college visit there 3 years ago, and John Smith said it again. And I'm like, this is beautiful. It's perfect, right? So if you're in a great program, or the best that you have access to, you have to make it work, right? So you just have to make it work and say, this is good. You don't say, oh, my kid got third at state again. We're quitting. We're going to go somewhere else. Whatever. Because you'll do that. It's like, you have 37 diet books and 5 pieces of exercise equipment. It says the one you bought 18 years ago was good. Use that one, right? We don't need to keep chasing the idea fairy. There's an idea fairy out there. Oh, I got an idea. Don't chase the idea fairy. My parents whose kids make it, they're like, you're in the right place. Now, because you have to, it's called micro training. The macro training is what the coaches can do in the program and workout partners and opportunities. The micro training is what you need to do, right? You need to do stance in motion every night for 5 minutes. You need to get to practice early and work on your weaknesses. You need to ask the coach, why this, why that. You need to lift weights in your basement. Your coach can't come over to your house and make you lift weights in your basement. You have to do that. You have to do the little micro things. Generally, when you're in a great environment and your kid's at the top, or maybe been to number one and he's just hovering back and forth, like Kyle Schneider and Jordan Burroughs are doing, right? You're probably as good as you're going to get. Now, try to tweak those minor things. But it's easy to look outside yourself and say, somebody's to blame. Who can I blame, and then who can I go find to fix this? No. The other guy's deserving too. As long as you're one of the top 1% who are deserving of the state title, be happy when you win it 1 out of every 4 years, right? Try to win it 4 in a row, but that's difficult. I don't think even Kyle Dake won 4 state titles in a row. He won 4 college national titles in a row, right? David Taylor won the Worlds. He didn't win the NCAAs but 2 times. He couldn't beat Kyle Dake, right? You can't blame Penn State, right? It's just part of it, right? So not being a little panic attacker, trying to blame someone for the travesty, trying to be a program hopper and say, there's got to be someone out there to guarantee me that my kid will never lose a match ever, 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 ever. Not going to happen, right? Shrug your shoulders and say, hey, that kid got you, man. You got second in state. I'm proud of you. You won it last year. Let's regroup, right? Maybe there's some little things we can work on technically. Maybe there's some things we can work on that you need to work on that I can help with, right? And then you regroup and go ahead, just like David Taylor and Kyle Schneider and Jordan Burroughs are doing right now, right? So that's number 3. The kids don't always want to quit. It's the parents who have a hard time sticking it out. But they probably do that in their own life too, right? And I think we've all done that, and we all need to knock that off too, right? Now, you do need to make sure that we're teaching our kids the power of sticking it out. There's something called the aggregation of marginal gains. The aggregation means the collection. The gains are marginal. A bodybuilder doesn't put on 3 inches of muscle every other day. It's marginal, but they aggregate and they grow. Your kid's improvement's going to go boom, boom, boom. Then boom, the plateau hits, right? If you go from bench pressing 100 pounds to 150 in 3 months, which that could happen, that doesn't mean you're going to be bench pressing 225 in another 3 months, right? And then 400 pounds in 9 months. And then 700 pounds in 12. It's not going to happen. It's going to slow down, right? You can go from 30% body fat down to 10, easy. You want to get down to 5%? It might take 3 years. I'm sorry. It's the way it is, right? That's when people panic. And the kids need to be taught by the parent about the realities of life and athletics, right? So don't be a panic attacking program hopper, because you're teaching your kids bad habits. They're going to be always chasing the next quick get rich quick scheme, the next perfect wife, the next perfect this or that, the next idea fairy. You cannot do that. It's terrible. It doesn't work. My kids whose parents know how to stay the course, because they're in a good place. We're probably the best place in America to be, right? And there's other great programs, but I don't think anything like ours. And the ones that are better, they're operating in major wrestling states like California, Ohio, maybe Pennsylvania. We're in a above average wrestling state, and our kids are crushing it. So I think put our program in Pennsylvania, right? When you're only drawing, that's what they do there, right? California is the same way. So, our kids are in a great place. They just have to stay there and stick it out. Last thing I would think is that my parents understand, at least they listen, to the value of training. Abe Lincoln said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 sharpening my axe. That is correct. Right? If you want to spend $600 on an out-of-town tournament, great. Make sure it's a good one. You don't need to go to the Kentucky Rumble. That, unless you have money flying out of your pockets, that's $600. The Kentucky Rumble is probably going to be 9 minutes of wrestling. Your kid's going to win a $4 medal. If your money is you're on a budget like most of us, go to a freaking wrestling camp. Go to 2 of them for $600. That's 2 weeks. That's 60 hours of wrestling. The training is where it's at because camps are expensive. A home mat. I'm not giving them $600 for a home mat. Well, you're not giving them. They're giving you a home mat, right? A home wrestling mat is less than an out-of-town tournament. And there's about a 90% resale value. Skip an out-of-town tournament, buy a home mat, right? So I think you see the value in training. You're going to be blown away. Plus, it's an investment for the kids who do get a chance to wrestle in college. So there is my take of my experience for the past 20 years. And it's like night and day. I see it. I can almost tell right away who's going to make it, who isn't, based upon the parents. And I think if you were in my shoes, you'd probably come up with the same tactics or observations. Good luck.